Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about how to navigate the changes that we are going through in the world right now. This energetic shift that a lot of us are feeling from a spiritual perspective and on a personal level. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, talk to me in the comments, like and share this video, and check out my description box for links to my social media, my discussion group, Patreon, and my new channel that I've recently started. The other night, I watched the Dr. Seuss movie, The Lorax, with my kids. It was the second or third time I've watched it, but it gets me every time. My kids discovered this movie on Netflix and watched it long before I did. And they were on me to watch it. Mom, you have to watch The Lorax with us. When are we going to watch The Lorax? You're going to love it. My kids were born with a passion for the environment and for creating a better world. They were born this way, and they've really challenged me in this area, actually. Spoiler alert, for anyone who isn't familiar with the movie, I'm going to give a very brief overview because I think it's a really powerful story that's very relevant to where we're at right now. And this will just be really brief. So the movie The Lorax is based on the Dr. Seuss book by the same name and has a very strong environmental message. In the 2012 adaptation of it, there's a young man who's out to prove his worth to his family, who doesn't believe in him. He has a good heart, he has good intentions, he wants to make something of himself. He sees an opportunity to make a lot of money, and he ends up, in the process of doing so, letting greed take over, listening to some bad advice from his family members, and destroying the environment in the process of getting rich by cutting down all the truffula trees. Once the last tree is cut down, he loses everything, and the next generation of people settle in the area with no memory of what happened. Without trees, of course, the air quality is horrible, and another well-intentioned young man sees a business opportunity to get rich selling good quality air to people for their homes. Now, I don't know who does this, but somebody builds a tall wall around the city to hide the devastation and destruction of the environment that is outside the city everywhere. So the people who are born and raised within the walls have no idea of the destruction that their lifestyle is causing. Everything is manufactured inside the city. Nobody ever ventures out, so no one knows there's a problem. Without going into all the details, at the end of the movie, a young boy who has discovered both the truth and the last truffula seed knocks down the walls of the city in a desperate attempt to bring awareness to the people inside the city. The townspeople who are gathered around gasp in horror at the destruction that their way of life has caused. They immediately rally together against corporate greed in agreement that they need to change their ways. The movie ends with the last truffula seed being planted in the center of the city where everyone can see it, and everyone singing and dancing together in the streets. Let it grow, let the love inside you show. All we really need is love. Every time I watch this scene, I become emotional because it hits so close to home. And this time I asked myself, why does this scene mean so much to me? And it's because this is what I want to see. This is what I work so hard for every single day, to do my part to spread the message that we need to love each other, that we need to come together and support each other. It's the only way that we can overcome the evils that seem to loom so large over us. Why? Why can't it be as easy as it is in this movie? Just show people the devastation that our way of life is causing, and we'll all come together and sing and dance in the streets and love each other and create a better world. Why can't we just say child trafficking and rape and the rainforest being cut down and baby chicks being thrown into grinders and cows with bars around their heads and trash suffocating fish in the ocean and children going hungry and wars and torture and corporate greed and political control? This isn't working. We need to change things. And why can't we all just wake up and realize what we've done and realize that our collective way of life has created this and that we can just as easily create something else? Why can't we come together and sing and dance in the streets and realize that love is all we need. I actually had a conversation with my kids about this after we watched the movie. I said to them, do you know why it's so hard for people to change in the real world? Do you know why it doesn't look like it did in the movie? It could if we had a massive awakening. That type of overnight change is absolutely possible. But up to this point, it hasn't happened. Why? Because all those people in the movie in that city who were willing to change their ways, who were willing to stand up to corporate greed, all of them probably lost their jobs because the guy who manufactured air provided most of the jobs for the city. Their entire way of life was based on manufacturing everything so that it wouldn't have to be grown. So the economy would have completely crashed. Infrastructure would have completely crashed. Everybody would have been without a job. Parents wouldn't have been able to provide for their kids. People would have gone hungry. People would have gone without medical care. People would have gone without a lot of things until they were able to establish a new system. They would have had to have given up any careers, any dreams and goals that they were chasing in the old system that was dependent on the old way of life. They would have had to give up a lot of comfort and conveniences. And it would have taken all of them being on board to affect this type of massive change, because then some group somewhere would have continued on the old way of life. So here's the question. What would be required to accomplish something like this? One thing: spiritual awakening. A mass realization that, as they sang in the movie, love is all we need. Love is bigger than the guilt we feel over the mess we've made, so we will no longer hide from it or deny it. Love is bigger than the insignificance we feel and the doubt that we could actually make a difference. Love is bigger than the fear we feel over what we will have to give up or lose in this process. Love is bigger than the anxiety we feel over the massive changes that are occurring. Love is bigger than our individual differences, our hurts, our offenses, our arguments, our disagreements. Because people won't agree on how to work out all the details. That's never going to happen. But love is big enough to work with people's differences and to accept them in their differences and to find common ground. In other words, people need to be two things in order for major change to happen. First, empowered, so that guilt, insignificance, fear, and anxiety do not hold them back. Second, unified, so that individual differences and disagreements do not rip them apart. So let's go over those 2 points in a little more detail. First, we need to be empowered. So we must awaken to our own divine power. We have to heal inwardly. Now is the time to dig deep and do the work. Do the therapy. Do the meditation. Rewire your thought patterns. As Jesus said, repent or change the way you think, because your healing is the healing of the world. We're all interconnected, and our energy has an impact on the energy of those around us. Every person that awakens, every person that raises their vibration or awakens spiritually, makes it more likely that the next person will do the same. Realize that you have nothing to fear from any outside source. The power is within you and always has been. We have always been creating the world, we just didn't realize it. Now we need to do it consciously. You are not your body. You are not your emotions. Emotions are just energies passing through you. You are not your thoughts. You are an indestructible, infinitely powerful spiritual being, and no outside source can ever take that away from you. Outside control is an illusion. All power is held within. And second, we need to be unified, which means that we need to awaken to each other's divine power. We must learn to get along. People who make different decisions than us are not our enemy. They are people just like us who have had different life experiences that have caused them to draw what are logical conclusions for them. The only way to defeat the power that tries to come at us from the outside with the illusion of control is to realize our collective power and stand in peace and truth. That can only be done when we are willing to accept each other in our differences. So the goal is not to try to convince anybody to agree with you, even on the most controversial issues of our day. The point is never, do they believe this or do they believe that? Did they do this or did they do that? The point is always, how can I love them? How can I see them and love them and accept them for who they are? I'm talking about a very specific issue of our time. I'm talking about whether or not somebody gets the thing in their arm. It doesn't matter, guys. It does not matter if they get it or don't get it. What matters is, do you love them anyway? And to me, this just seems so simple. And like, we should be way past this, but the comments that I get on my videos tell me otherwise. People come on here talking about this is a life and death situation, and they either did this thing or didn't do this thing, and it's survival mode for me. No, this is the test right here. The test is not, did they get it or did they not get it? The test is, can we get out of survival mode and go into unity consciousness? Can we rise up above that? Everybody's out for themselves. Everybody's out for protecting themselves. And can we get into unity consciousness? Can we learn that our true power is found when we love and accept each other and we all come together in support of each other? This is how we will evolve. This is how we will throw away any illusions of control, not by imagining ourselves as coming up against these illusions and painting ourselves in our own minds as a victim. It's impossible for us to be a victim. It is impossible for any outside power to actually control us unless we give them that power in our minds and create a story surrounding that. People have to realize that the big scary powers that try to control us are reflections of the demons that we carry within. They are our collective creations. If we were to realize our power, and if we were not afraid of the consequences of standing in our power, and if we were committed to supporting each other through the process, even in our differences, we could get rid of the evils of the world overnight. I absolutely believe that. And this is the decision that is before each one of us right now. We are on the precipice of change. We are on the verge of an evolutionary leap that has not been seen before in human history. Why? Because we are more connected. We live in a global world, but we are also more awake and aware of the corruption in the world than ever before. We have the opportunity to create an awakened, peaceful world. But in order to do this, there is one very simple thing that we need to do. We need to learn to love. And this is what it all boils down to. Our own spiritual awakening or empowerment and our unity with others. Those two things, spiritual evolution itself, can all be boiled down to one thing: love. In the spiritual community right now, and I'm just speaking generally because I'm not trying to call out names or throw anybody under the bus, but generally speaking, in the spiritual community right now, I think people are making this a lot more complicated than it needs to be. This may seem ironic given the monumental size of the task that is before us, creating a new world where people live in peace and harmony. But really, as with all things, it's very, very simple. Love is the answer to everything. Love is the answer to every question that was ever asked and every question that has not been asked. Love is the key to every lock. It is the answer to every puzzle. Love is the reason that we are here. And as I mentioned a moment ago, a lot of people in the spiritual community are making this about some kind of battle. A battle between good and evil, between the light and the darkness. This is about us being oppressed by the powers of the world. In reality, that is a story we're creating, and if we continue to play the victim in that story, then it will continue to play out. Rather than coming together, a lot of people want to make this about division and control. They want to point out the difference between the awakened group and the non-awakened group. People are claiming the title awakened while pointing the finger at those who aren't awakened. And there's a lot being said about the divide between the spiritually awakened group and the non-awakened group. And it's said in nice enough language. People are usually quick to point out that we shouldn't judge those who aren't awakened, because there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the choice they've made. But we are the ones creating that story. As long as we are creating a story about some people are awakened and other people aren't, then we're creating division. We have to get past that. We have to get past, I'm awakened and you're not. And they're trying to control me and they're coming against me and this and that. It's just, no, we are all divine spiritual beings and we are here to love each other. That's it. As long as you are seeing yourself as somebody who is more awakened or more spiritual than another person, you are not seeing clearly. And I am speaking just as much to myself with this as anyone else. Guys, the last couple of months, well, the last 2 years, but the last few months specifically have been really hard on a lot of people, myself included. And I'm going to be really honest with you guys, because I talk to a lot of people every day and people are telling me the same things, and I want you to know that you're not alone. A lot of people are experiencing increased anxiety, feeling their core wounds exposed, things they haven't dealt with in decades. I myself have been dealing with this, and I have been reminded in a very real way that I am no different, more spiritual than anybody else, because I have been preaching inner peace and finding the divine within for the last 2 years, and I meant every word that I said, but I'm being tested in that right now. I have had a rough couple of months on a personal level. I am dealing with increased health issues. I am dealing with increased anxiety that I have not had since I was a teenager before I got healed of depression. And what all of this has taught me is that love is the answer. The only way that we are going to get through this. And I'm not alone. I mean, almost every single person that I've talked to in my life, in my personal life, my family and friends, and in the YouTube internet community is dealing with the same things. And the only way that we are going to get through this is through love. First of all, we have to love and accept ourselves through these hardships that we're facing. We have to love and accept ourselves through the anxiety. We have to dig deep and continue to do the work, continue to push forward, continue to heal. But the only way that will happen is if we stop judging ourselves and start loving ourselves through that. And we also have to love each other. The only way that we are ever going to come together, the only way we are going to defeat the problems that we are facing in the world right now is to reach out a helping hand and to pull another person up, to get down with them in their struggles, to be there with them, to say, hey, I am here with you. I'm experiencing this too, and we are going to get through this together, and I'm going to love you through this no matter what, no matter our differences. We're going to come together and we're going to get through this. And it is the most important thing right now. There is nothing else that is more important right now than love. Loving and healing yourself and loving and healing each other. That's how we heal the world. That's how we defeat the evils of the world and create a better world. So I just want to challenge you right now. Reach out to someone. Make amends with someone. Go see your therapist. Do a meditation. Do whatever you need to do to heal yourself, heal somebody else, to restore a relationship. It's the little things that are important. It is the little, seemingly insignificant steps that we take, pushing forward even when it's hard, taking it one day at a time, just saying, what can I do today to make the world a better place? I recently heard somebody say, and I cannot remember who this was, that when I'm making dinner to feed my family, I see myself as feeding the world. And I thought that was so beautiful. Just do your part. Make dinner to feed your family because it brings them joy and it puts joy out there into the world. It's the little things that we do that little by little raise the energy, raise the vibration, heal each other, and make the world a beautiful place. And more than anything, believe that this is possible. Believe in who we are and in what we can create if we come together. Don't let go of that vision, no matter how dark times get. Be loved, be happy, be at peace, and thank you for watching.